late this week, late next week or early the following week. He thought he could fund it that time.
And is he still waiting for the SWIFT code, or is that?
It's an entirely different bank. It doesn't need a SWIFT code. This bank is up and running. He owns a small piece of it. It's just a matter of.
So we're no longer waiting on the SWIFT code. We're going through a new bank in the U.S.
Yes, we would get it. If the SWIFT code doesn't come this weekend, which is possible, they come on Saturday, I guess. We will get funded from a different bank, either late next week or the following week. If you want the exact verbiage, because I tried to pin him down because his answers are very long. I said, hey, if I tell my team, what can I tell my team? Because he said next Thursday. And I said, if I tell my team next Thursday, is that okay? He said, give me another week after that. So that's my update. I know everyone's tired of hearing 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I feel like if it was live, you got to be throwing things at me right now. But that's the answer.
And I think what would help shareholders in this regard, and let me just update my my question here. So there was a previously provided worst case date to close the Arbiter loan of 30 days, and that was given on March 7th, and that date would have been April 6th. What was the delay that resulted in that date not initially being met?
Again, there was a SWIFT code. And keep in mind that when we have these, I've had several, probably a dozen calls with Darren and his team and as a team of attorneys. We have these calls, and it's very important to all of us to get it done. And these people are giving me their best guess of what they thought it would take to get the Arbiter Bank deal done. And this is managed by their New York attorneys and their New York firms, and it's all. And we have our attorneys there, so it's it's not me and Darren just texting each other. We have real meetings and real plans to get it done. Unfortunately, they just missed the timeline. They never expected it to take 6 months to get their bank up and going. They're not being malicious. They're not being dishonest. They just never expected it. So they did take the steps. We're all excited here at SRC. We really think it's going to happen next week, and it will change the entire face of SRC and lower my blood pressure quite a bit.
Perfect. So I think that does put a definitive answer on the Arbiter Bank timeline, and that most of these timelines have been from Darren, and you've been kind of relaying information that Darren has been giving you. There was an additional question about the Arbiter having been anticipated to close in the recent filing in the second quarter. And I think people were looking at that Q2, Arbiter is anticipated to close in Q2 in the recent annual filings, and kind of extrapolating that the date had been moved to the end of Q2 as a possible worst case scenario. So I think everyone is glad to hear that we're only a couple weeks out at this point.
This is seriously the first time that Darren's given me more of an exact date. Like I said, he said next Thursday as an exact date. He did hedge, and he added a week to that. So
perfect.
Usually he always says, I'm looking down an empty well, and I can't see what the future holds, and I can't crystal ball this, but we think SWIFT will show up good. So they're trying to manage our expectations and not create too much concern.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure all the shareholders are very excited to hear that. I know that the Arbiter Bank has been a sticking point for a while in discussions.
And keep in mind, this is not a one-time transaction. This is a banking relationship that we created. They will be our bank for the life of SRC. If we ever need any funding, they'll provide very favorable funding for us throughout the life of SRC and their bank.
Perfect. So moving on a little bit from the Arbiter, let's get on to the NASDAQ uplist and some of the issues with the banks. Not issues, but the questions on the banks for NASDAQ. I know you had recently mentioned that you did pick a bank for NASDAQ. Will you be interviewing other banks in the near future other than that one? Or have you kind of settled on the banks that you're going to be using for the NASDAQ uplist?
We have literally, again, that's been my focus, my full-time job. We have literally interviewed 5 or 6 banks. We've interviewed all the big ones, EF Hutton, Roth, Spartan, Revere, a couple of West Park. All of them are very interested. They all love our company. They all want to get involved. We've narrowed it down to two at this point. I think I don't want to say who the final two are, but we have another call Monday. I'm pretty confident by the end of next week we'll be able to make a public announcement of who we chose for the uplist.
That sounds very very positive for shareholders who I know have been a little bit also concerned about the timeline for the Nasdaq uplisting, and I know they'll be glad to hear that the bank choice, which is a significant first step in that, is going to be closer than I think everyone thought previously. So
Yeah, I'm sure the process will be. We will. I will finalize the bank. Myself, my attorney Joe Lakoski is doing all the legwork. We'll have to present it to the board, get their approval, and if everyone approves, we'll move forward and start moving towards the Nasdaq.
great. I think everyone will be very happy to hear that. So let's move on to a question about an old revolving loan. So it was mentioned previously that SIRC had a revolver loan for working capital needs. Shareholders are interested. Can you let us know what the maximum on that credit line is and the current draw?
I saw the question when you sent it to me. I'm a little confused. We have a credit line for materials with almost all of our vendors. But we don't have a revolving credit line with any bank or any institution.
Fair enough. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Had you at one point or never in the past?
Never.
Okay.
Maybe someone misunderstood something I said, but we've never had one.
Yeah, it may have been a misunderstanding. All right, let's move on.
Hey, Brett, we're gonna keep you awake during this.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I mean, I don't have to do much talking, but yet, I feel like I get all the credit because I have a microphone, but I don't have to use it. I'm like a backup dancer over here.
Hey, if you feel like you want to chime in at any point, or if you feel like a question, there's something you might be able to offer through your experience, with RB Capital, by all means, I'm sure shareholders would love to hear any additional information you could offer on the subjects.
And I'm sure Brett knows all these banks that we're interviewing very well. I'm sure he has personal relationships with them.
Yeah, I do. I mean, that I can tell you. I speak to these investment banks pretty much on a weekly basis. And like Dave said, they all want a piece of SIRC because solar's a hot thing. I mean, he's explosive growth, the whole nine yards. But we're gonna, like you said, he narrowed it down to two that are probably the two best ones, and either one is fine by me.
Glad to see that you're supportive of their decision. Sounds like everyone's on the same page. So next question. Now that the 2-year audited financials have been published, have you seen any institutional interest from institutional investors?
To really get that interest, we'd have to be fully reporting to the SEC, and that would take filing a Form 10. And we just had a big C-level meeting today, and we've decided that's going to be a good next step because to go to Nasdaq, you have to file an S1, and that could be 6 months out. So during that 6 months, we think it's going to be important to be fully reporting. So we're working on that process now. When that's complete, I'm sure we'll get a lot more activity. We're doing the conference, a microcap conference in Vegas next week, where I'm sure we'll get a lot of institutional interest at that point. Pablo and I are going there the first week of May.
And I'm sure everyone is going to be anticipating that very strongly. I know those microcap conferences are amazing networking opportunities. Did have a follow-up question come in. We had someone ask, what is the timeline for the Form 10?
It's a 60-day guaranteed approval, even with comments. As far as the timeline of getting it prepared, we actually have a template that's prepared. We have filed a Form 10 that if you guys, the long-term investors, remember from last year, we filed it. We removed it because we didn't have all of our acquisitions audited, and it created a big timing problem. We have a template. Joe and Jeff, our attorneys, are working on it. My goal is hopefully they can have that re-prepared and filed next week. I'm not saying it's going to be next week. That would make me very happy. But it should be soon. It's top priority.
Awesome. All right, on to something else that I know shareholders have been very anxiously awaiting. Could you provide us with an update on the OTCQB uplisting now that the audited financials that they've asked for have been filed?
Happy to. Just to give you an idea that, the OTC, I think they're a little understaffed. They don't really give us updates. We or my attorney will reach out to them and say, what's the status of of our application? And they'll respond with an email saying it's currently under review. That happened early this week. So their last answer is it's currently under review. It was, originally when we filed before the audit financials, it's under review. We would like to get audit financials. We provided them everything we need. My anticipation, as you guys know, I'm an optimist. I think we'll get a word next week.
Sounds.
Just based on the timing. There's no reason for us not to get approval. It should be any day.
Hey, guys, this is Brett, and I can definitely attest to that. I've been to OTC markets in person several times. Been admitted to both their offices. They do not have a ton of people that work there, and a lot of the people that work there work in the billing department, chasing around issuers for like their money and stuff, like preparing content. The amount of people, like literally, that they have reviewing this stuff is like 5 to 7 people. And that's for like over 6,000 issuers, all the corporate actions, all the everything. I know it's not stupid, but like, and then COVID really, I know everyone blames everything on COVID, but like their office shut down, and like these aren't the kind of workers that work better remotely. Next thing you know, they're just watching TV instead of like, that's really why everything got slowed down. And like, that's like the stuff that nobody ever really says. And unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast right now, where it stands.
That makes perfect sense. So, Brett, would you say it would be accurate then that the people that are responding to the emails are not necessarily the people that are actively reviewing these applications?
It's all right. So a lot of times, like you get I mean, look, there is someone that really sends you the email, but it's like one step like above the whole do not respond emails. Like, you know what I mean? Like, please do not reply to this email thing. Essentially, like it's a form email. It's like anyone who's ever written like the IR department of any publicly traded company with any pertinent question has gotten a form letter. It's like the same thing with them. Like you're under review. We are working on it. Our general time is 7 to 10 days. Blah 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 blah. But like remember, the more you call and hassle these people, like the less likely they are. It's like going to the DMV and yelling at them. Like you're never going to get your driver's license.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, fair enough. That sounds like a solid update. Let me move on
And
to the
I'm not
next
sure
question.
Brett
Sure.
might have mentioned this, and I went and get another glass of water. I think since COVID, they're all working from home, so I don't know if there's a lot of supervision going on. I think they're working at their own pace. I'm guessing, but that's what I think.
Yeah, that seems to be very prominent across a lot of industries right now, unfortunately. All right, so to the NASDAQ uplist, would you consider the 4-month timeline for the NASDAQ uplist that you had mentioned? I know you had mentioned summer of 2022, which would be June, July, August, September, by September. Do you still believe that the NASDAQ uplisting will take place this summer as the timeline began on that?
The timeline probably won't start until we pick a bank. And our leading bank, I had a call with them this week. They gave me a 90 to 180 day timeline to get it done. And keep in mind, we have to deal with the SEC, we have to deal with FINRA, we have to deal with a lot of different agencies that can hold up paperwork, hold up the process. But we will diligently try to get it done in the 4 months. I think we can. My attorney thinks we can, but I've been criticized for my optimistic timeline, so I'm trying to hedge a little bit.
This is Brett again, and obviously, guys, if you look up the lawyer Joe Lakoski, like if you look up their law firm Lakoski Brookman, the guys like handling the S1 and everything, you'll see that like he does more S1s and more uplists than any law firm like out there in this sector. I mean, and I mean, if you go on OTC markets, you'll see that he's like sponsored by OTC markets. Even they endorse him. I mean, it's like it's in good hands, you know.
He just put out a big flyer. He did $1.5 billion in uplifts last year.
Wow, that's amazing.
He's
Sounds
considered
like-
one of the top 10 attorneys in the U.S. He's been a close SRC follower ever since I got started. He literally, I went to New York City. I couldn't have been any more greener. And I met with him. He didn't know me from Adam. He bought me a beautiful steak dinner, and he's been supportive of me ever since. He's literally has supported SRC. I call him anytime. He's never sent me an invoice yet. I got a feeling that this invoice for the uplist might make up for it, but he's never sent me an
Well, it sounds like you got the best in the business working on it. I'm sure everyone will be quite excited and thankful to hear that. But that does bring me to something that I know has been a general point of concern since since you had mentioned the Nasdaq uplist, and as you know, generally Nasdaq requires a $4 price to uplist. There are exceptions at the capital market tier for a $3 or $2 bid price. And I know that shareholders are worried about the potential of a significant reverse split, especially now that, unfortunately, as a result of the lawsuit, Hunter has made some public posts regarding the possibility or the intention at one point of a 20-to-1 reverse split, and he's kind of put that idea out there, and it has done some damage, in the investment community across several discussion forums. So what would you say to shareholders at this point who are concerned about a significant reverse split in uplisting to the Nasdaq this summer, in such a short time frame?
I feel like there's about 4 questions in there that I'd like to address.
Absolutely. Yeah, the floor is yours.
I'm not going to give Hunter a lot of time on this, but for him to even say something like that with no knowledge, no idea what we're doing, no where that number and that reverse number came from, it came out of his head. It just is unbelievable that he's putting that on public forum. I'm sure that he will be held responsible for his comments. I'm not going to give it any more time, but that never
Absolutely.
came.
Yeah.
It never came from anything from SRC. That's all him. I think trying to.
I sure hope buy or sell any stock after those comments, because he's going to get in a whole lot of trouble then. I mean, that's manipulation.
It had nothing to do with SRC. I think he's trying to change his whole online presence is to change the narrative to poor me, big SRC is picking on me. And the narrative is he committed fraud and we're just trying to hold him accountable. And that's the bottom line. So that's it with Hunter. As far as if you guys do a little math in the clean tech industry, the going market cap for companies in our space is anywhere from about 8 to 12 times revenue. SRC is trading at about 70% of revenue currently. So we have a lot of upside once we clean up the toxic investors and we start getting our numbers out there and get you guys share growth. So I think people are concerned about the reverse split. It's more the evaluation of what we come out at after the uplist. And that's a big concern.
I think generally sorry, were you finished? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, that's our goal is to have a successful uplist. In my opinion, a successful uplist is you go to NASDAQ, you come out at a price, and a month later your stock price is higher. That's a successful uplist. An unsuccessful uplist is, let's say you come out at $10 and a month later your stock is $5. That's an unsuccessful uplist. So our focus and our goal and of the bank and what we're trying to do, we're going to make sure that we have we're going to do everything we can to make sure we have a successful uplist. So the concern about reverse split and all that stuff is there's a lot of different details, but what people should care about is us having a successful uplist.
And honestly, a successful uplist is also marked by, look, it's these crappy companies that shouldn't even be uplisting in the first place that have this is me just talking, sorry. They got $3 million in revenue. It took them $27 million of investor money to get $3 million in revenue. You know what I mean? This isn't a company, when a company that has $84 million of audited revenue and, 20 million plus to the bottom line or to the net line. I mean, it's a different game. It's a totally different game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think shareholders are concerned maybe regarding the timeline of the reverse that might happen, in that I've seen some concern about the NASDAQ uplist being so quick that there won't be time to For example, get the Arbiter funds in, buy out the Granite Global debt, and allow the price to have any time to grow naturally. I think shareholders have expressed some concern that the uplist may be attempted while the price is still significantly lower than I think everyone believes that they want to see it, and that fundamentals indicate it should be at right now. So therefore, I think shareholders just want some reassurance that there will not be a larger reverse split done than is absolutely necessary, and that the price is given some time to grow organically as a result of good news and positive feedback. Is there anything that you can provide to reassure shareholders in that department?
I think that's a viable concern, and we're very we're very confident that our share price will find its natural place as we clean things up, and we will. And I think that will happen over the 4 months, as we 4 to 6 months, as we move our way to Nasdaq. As you guys know, I don't like to talk about future revenues or share prices, but you don't have to be a genius to know that our share price is not where it should be.
Oh, I would I would absolutely tend to agree with that. I think that for my final question on the subject, just to try to clarify, is there um, a number that you would be uncomfortable going over when it comes to a reverse split? Would you say no more than 10 to 1, no more than 5 to 1? Is there a number that you can comfortably give to to provide any sort of reassurance in that regard?
That, that I'm gonna leave that up to the experts, and that would be the bank. They would know that better than I would. There's a lot of variables. We don't know what the stock price is going to be in 4 months. We don't know what our revenue number is going to be in 4 months. And so as those questions become answered, I think would be pretty easy to put some numbers to that. But until then, I can't speculate.
Okay, fair enough.
But again, I think my shareholders know I'm very shareholder conscious. And again, the bottom line is having a successful uplist by far.
And it's
And I think
the bank's opinions, and everyone you've spoken to is of the opinion that the Nasdaq uplist in summer of 22 is the way to go, because I know a question had come in whether or not it had been considered to allow the price to continue to grow organically along with revenue. But it seems that all the decisions in that regard have been made, and that things are pretty firmly set for summer of 2022. Yes.
yes, and one concern is our crazy world environment that we have with the wars and the COVIDs and the economic conditions and inflation and rising fuel costs. We want to obviously do our uplist Nasdaq when the economy is fairly strong, or at least in a good place. So I think timing is key.
I couldn't agree more. All right, let's move on to some operational questions. I know that shareholders are excited to learn about some of the stuff that SIRC has going on. I know that so much of the focus has been on Arbiter and QB and a lot of the delays, but in the background, I'm sure there's been a lot going on. So in the first quarter of 2022, what are you and the SIRC team most proud of in regards to the growth you've seen, and what are you most looking forward to in the second quarter?
What are we most proud of in the first quarter?
What are you most proud of with the growth in the first quarter thus far, and what are you most looking forward to in the second quarter?
SRC, as far as the operation go, Pablo and I were just talking about this today, that we're literally firing on all cylinders. Sales are going crazy, installs are going crazy, our numbers are going crazy. I have some numbers here for you guys if you want to hear some.
Absolutely. You guys want to hear some numbers? I think everyone wants to hear some numbers.
I'll tell you what I'm really proud of. Not in first quarter is our EV division is doing a great job. I know there was a question about EV, but this is for us not being much in the EV industry and just moving into it as we move from change from solar integrated roof corp to solar EV. Brad Reinhardt, the director of the EV division, is doing a great job. He has just finished a couple recently finished projects. He just finished the Lancaster Library here in California for $382,000. He just finished the California State Prison for $182,000. His Point Reyes, that's under construction, for $242,000. He has jobs that are awarded here in California. He has about 12 of them here. I can name them off: Zuma Beach Animal Control Headquarters, High Desert Regional Health Center, Agua Dulce Library, City Terrace, Leland Library, Locking Out of Flintwood Library, East LA Library, Rosemead Library. Sound like we got a library contract. Los Nitos Senior Center, WBACS, Regional Park, new office building, Thousand Oak Coptic Church. So he's taken our new division, EV charging, that did less than $1 million last year, and he's done a tremendous job in growth. And we feel like our EV charging division will rival our solar division that's really going crazy as well. So I'm really proud of that. As far as what I'm most looking forward to in the second quarter is another revenue stream. I don't know if any of you guys saw my interview today with Don Bellagio, but I could cover that today with Don. Hector Pena, our director of financial services, he's putting together a fund. And so we're going to kind of be like a sun run, where we're going to fund own projects. And he's put together for 2022 a $50 million residential fund and a $150 million commercial fund. What that does is we get work with banks where they provide debt financing, equity financing, and tax equity financing. They put this fund together, and we fund our own projects. And once at the end of the year, when this fund is filled and we sell all the projects to fill this fund, it will create $20 million a year in recurring revenue for SRC for the next 25 years. For the next 25 years, and we have 5-year options after that. It could go to 35 years. So do the math: 35 years times 20 million. What is that? $7 billion.
35 is 20, $700 million right there, just from the one division.
And we it's a brand new revenue stream for us, and Hector's working diligently on. I've been on a lot of calls with him. So to answer your question, one of my he's expected to come out second quarter. This is his background. He's been doing it for 20 years, and he has a lot of relationships in this arena. So he's changing the face of SRC. So as we get these funds in place, we start to fill them up. It's going to really, we're totally making a transition from a solar roofing company to a solar EV finance company.
That sounds amazing. I think that's going to excite people. So I'm hearing government contracts. I'm hearing solar financial services on track for quarter 2. I think everyone's going to be very, very excited to hear both of those things. Government contracts, we all know, are big cash cows.
And the rumor is, I'm not supposed to say anything. Come next Friday, we have a GSA contract that could be coming. That could be pretty exciting. We hope that they'll make it. Be able to make an announcement soon.
TSA, the airport TSA?
No, GSA is a government federal contract. We have a blanket approval with the government where GSA approved.
Oh, GSA.
So we're on their,
okay.
Yeah, we're on their GSA approved contractor list. I guess Brad's been working with them, or Brad or Tim been working with them pretty diligently on some pretty nice jobs.
That's also very impressive. It sounds like there's been a lot more going on behind the scenes than people think.
Yes, we have been a little quiet. I think that's going to change here pretty quick.
Definitely people will be glad to hear that. This is kind of along the same lines. I think you just kind of did this and gave us a little bit of a preview, but if there's anything else that you haven't added, the question is basically if you could give us a forward-looking preview of any new projects or partnerships that are unannounced or on your radar, and I think you kind of just did that, unless there's something you'd like to add.
We don't have any partners or partnerships. We do have again, all of our divisions are clicking on all cylinders. Got a little update from Pablo. I was trying to get my homework prepared for this. USA Solar Network has added 35 new dealers to a national dealer program. The sales have increased 50% over last month. We're now able to conduct business in 42 states. And we're doing a JD with a big roofer in East Texas, where we're working with them with a 20,000+ clients to turn them into solar clients as well. And in commercial solar, we received $15.5 million in new projects. Cornerstone Roofing in Arkansas just had a big hailstorm. They sold 100 roofs in the past month in Arkansas. And the nice thing about the synergies that we have, but those 100 roofs should turn into 100 solar systems and possibly, there should be storage and some EV done in that sector as well. So we take our little crumbs and we turn them into cookies, and we take these revenue divisions and we harvest them and make them grow in the large revenue divisions. So we've had a lot of success.
And that sounds like.
I'm sorry,
Sorry, I got the dog in the background. No worries. But it
Yeah,
sounds like you
some
have
of
a lot of an amazing conversion rate when it comes to, being able to apply solar to, the roofing jobs, and then obviously eventually being able to add the EV charging on as part of the installation. The opportunity is there for combining these, types of revenue streams instead of just, only being roofing or only being solar. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And again, that was the foundation of the start of Solar Integrated Roof Corporation. I myself, I think you guys know I'm the founder, and I personally went out and sold roofing and solar, and I sold roofing for 30 years, and it was such a tough transaction because no one wanted to buy a roof. It doesn't matter who you were. You could live in a $5 million house. You didn't want to buy a $50,000 roof, and you could live in a $250,000 house and you didn't want to buy $8,000 roof. But when we could take your roof and solar package and package it together and put it with low cost financing and lower your cost of electricity and capture cost of electricity and put roof and solar and add the value to your home and take that expense and that problem you had and turn it into an asset, I just thought, oh my gosh, we're onto something here. So that's kind of where we started, and we kind of morphed into this larger revenue monster that's been created with my team.
Perfect. Sounds like it couldn't possibly be going any better for you guys right now in terms of what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I have shareholders that contact me all the time, and they tell me about what's going on in the sentiment, and I tell them all the time, we just have our head down and we're working hard and we're making things happen. That's the only thing we can really do at this time until we clean some things up.
Awesome. So next question, on to some more operational questions here. Is SIRC currently dealing with any supply chain issues as a result of world events? And if so, does the company have a strategy for handling these issues?
We are not. As we know, as we mentioned, we're a partner with Enphase, and we have Enphase and our solar panels were lined up. Our prices are fixed. We did a big press release how we got our prices down to. We can execute an entire project for about $1.30 a watt. We sell it for $5 a watt. We got that down pat, no problem. And I missed the opportunity to give Jason Newby, our residential sales director, some kudos. He's done an excellent job of building sales teams. Last week, and then keep in mind, him and his guys meet. They go have meetings, and you should see these meetings. It'd be worthwhile if he could put them online for you guys. But they go out door to door and sell solar jobs. Just last week, nationwide, he sold $2.5 million in solar systems. So if you do a run rate on that, what is that? $130 million a year in solar systems. If he could do that every week.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I've just never seen anything like it.
That's amazing, and I think everyone will be very excited to hear that, especially with all the other solar companies, especially, and some of the other energy companies that have been feeling the hit on the, the supply chains and things of that nature. It's very refreshing, I'm sure, to hear that SIRC is not having the same types of problems.
We're not. We've been very fortunate.
So moving on, sort of along the same lines, but a little bit different. Is SIRC currently feeling the effects of the increases in cost of goods, inflation? Is there any effect on profit margins? And does SIRC have a strategy in place to offset the effect of these issues on the business?
Yeah, I think I answered that a little bit last time. We have our cost. We have our install and our material cost down, and our sales up. We have it completely covered.
Great. Sounds like it's pretty self-explanatory. One more question in regards to world events. Has SIRC been affected in any way by the Department of Commerce's highly publicized investigation into solar exports from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam?
We have not.
Great news. So additional operational questions. These are more geared toward, kind of what's been happening on existing projects. Shareholders would like an update on all existing major projects, for example, Callaway, Chicken Farms, La Gonave, Portland EV. And would it be possible for you to provide regular monthly project updates, perhaps as part of a newsletter or other system?
I saw the question earlier and I followed up, and all those are still in the planning, design, finance stages. These big projects take a lot of upfront work. It's these projects are a little bit like painting. The key to painting is the preparation you do before you paint. Once you start painting, that's the easy part, and that's how these projects are. It's getting the design, engineering, and financing in place and getting them teed up. So they're all in the teed up stage, and they're all still solid to already go. The only wild card is the Laganos project. That's it's kind of tied to the seed coin, and it's in Haiti, and it would be cool if we could do it. We'd have to get the board to sign off on something like that, but it's still there. It's available for us, but it's not forefront. And could we do a monthly update? We could should try. I don't. I think our quarterly numbers kind of give you guys pretty good updates on what we're doing, but and we do all these discords, and I think we do a pretty good job of being open with our shareholders and sharing with them what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Q&As are themselves, like these, are a perfect vehicle for updating shareholders on the current contracts, and especially the big projects. I did hear you mention RX Seed Coin, though. Is there any updates you can give us on that and the relationship with that investment that you made into that cryptocurrency?
I know it's in process. It's somewhat of Pablo's project. I haven't. Again, my disclaimer at the very beginning is I don't work on everything. I have my focus points, but it's out there. It's going. I can't give you an update on exactly where it is.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on to some ongoing concerns about the solar incentive programs in California. Are you concerned about the proposed changes? I know they've also moved to several other states. How significant do you believe the current solar incentive changes could be on SIRC?
My personal opinion, I would be shocked if anything changed. I mean, California is probably the greenest state that there is, and we have a hard press that we're going to be 100% EV charging electric cars, I believe, by 2030 or 2035. So I can't imagine pushing an agenda like that and taking away the incentives, especially in this environment. And something that kind of overcomes that is this fund that Hector has put together. We would have our own PPA that would actually have its own taxes incentives inside the PPA that would overcome it when we're selling our own fund. That the tax incentives are priced into it.
Makes perfect sense. Moving on to another past contract. There was an agreement back in December of 2020 to supply solar panels and other power devices and services to the current and future customers of SelectTrack. SelectTrack has seen some increased order volume. Can you provide us with any developments or updates pertaining to the agreement between SIRC and SelectTrack?
Yeah, I believe their name is Soul Track. Is what I've always called them. But we had an agreement we would provide their materials for a $800 million grant that they applied for, and they did not get the grant.
Ah, okay. So that contract is essentially nixed then, nothing left there.
Yeah, they didn't get the grant, and that was the only working relationship that we had with them.
Got it. So you talked about this a little bit earlier, the Solar Financial Services pool, and you had mentioned the 150 million for residential and 150 million for commercial. I know shareholders had asked a couple questions with regards to that. Are there any other updates or milestones to report with regards to the fiscal financial services division?
Yeah, I believe we covered it. That's Hector's division that we're looking forward to in second quarter. And just to make a small correction, it's a $50 million residential fund and a $150 million commercial fund.
Ah, perfect. Okay.
Hector has all the pieces in place, and we should be. We have some commercial projects that are sold that we're kind of have on pause because we like to put them in the fund. So we're looking to get that fund started. I would say as early as May. Start filling the fund up with projects. That's
Oh, that's soon. Oh, I think
Yeah,
that's definitely earlier than people had expected, I think.
Hector's working his tail off on that.
Awesome. All right, so on to some revenue questions. On March 7th in the last Q&A, you had given fiscal year 2022 guidance of 100 million in revenue per quarter and 400 million annual. Is that guidance still accurate? Any updates or changes?
I think I've given you guys a good feel for where we are at in our growth and where the revenue numbers are coming from. I think it's going to be an amazing year for us as everything starts to unfold. I don't like saying forward-looking numbers. I get in trouble, but I think I've given you a good job of giving you the facts of the sales that we have in place and the growth that we have and all the different revenue streams that we have are all falling into place. So I think it should be a good. I coined this phrase earlier, which I like, is I think it should be a good year for SRC as long as the sun keeps shining.
That's a perfect comment. You could put it on a T-shirt and sell T-shirts saying that.
That's what I thought.
That's
maybe
amazing.
maybe we'll make our money this year selling T-shirts.
I'm sure you have plenty of shareholders to be willing to buy it. So
I think they could buy the stock a lot cheaper
than the shirt. Well, right now, unfortunately,
the stock's 30 cents. Your T-shirt's probably $12.
Hopefully for not much longer, though. I mean, the stock should be more than $12.
Yeah, that sure would be nice.
All right. So the recently released audited balance sheet shows a large amount of value moved from accounts receivable to work in progress receivables. When do you expect to collect on the bulk of these receivables if they're not already in hand?
It's a commercial projects are about a 180-day cycle, about 6 months, and they have different pay points, and we're moving into those pay points now. We have start checks starting to come. I believe by our second quarter numbers, I think we'll see a lot of the accounts receivable collected in the second quarter.
So you're looking at a 6-month turnaround essentially for a lot of these accounts receivable, and they're going to be coming in at various times, obviously, for the different projects during that.
Yeah, the projects you see, if you take, if you do the math, now our calendar year is a regular calendar year, so our second quarter would be over in June, and we'd be posting the middle of July. I think middle of July when we post, that accounts receivable money should be in the bank, and you should see it as part of our cash in the bank, and it won't be on AR, but we will have a significant AR. We'll be growing the pipeline, and so it just cycles through.
Awesome. Brett, you still with us?
Brett, did you go to sleep?
I think we lost Brett. Oh, there's Brett.
Oh no, sorry. I fell asleep. What did I miss?
No, you might want to wake up for this one because this has got you as part of the question too.
Uh-oh.
So, in your meeting with Brett and Darren Pastor of Arbiter Bank, what potential solutions or strategies were discussed with regard to solving SIRC's toxic debt problems?
Are you asking me or Dave?
Both.
Well, you woke up for that. I need water, so why don't you talk? I'll get a glass of water, and
Okay.
and I'll follow up when you're done.
Sure. No worries. So I met with Darren, and the way it was explained to me is this: Darren in the bank are just essentially giving the loan to SIRC. They don't really have any control over like use of proceeds or what it's doing. It's basically just about like points on the money, like 4.5% a year. Um, so because I even specifically asked that question, I was like, hey, how much did you guys like allot for to remove old debt, to take out our note holders, blah 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 blah. And then Darren immediately said that that number is completely up to Dave. He can do whatever he wants. So that was the answer that I got to that.
So it's fully under control of Dave and SIRC then. So as soon as Dave gets back from his water
I'm
break.
back.
Oh, you're back. Okay, perfect. So in terms of the money that's coming in from Arbiter Bank, I know before you had mentioned that the plan was to immediately, and by toxic debt, I to clarify, I'm essentially talking about, Granite Global and Tony. But the plan remains to essentially buy him out completely as soon as the money from Arbiter comes in. Is that still the plan?
Absolutely, that's my plan. And Brett knows I'm very anxious to do it. I talk to Brett about it almost every day. I'm a thorn in Brett's side about it, and we have to get him out
Yeah.
online. And we've negotiated a pretty favorable number to get him out. So I think when Arbor hits and we get that done, I think all those darts that were thrown at my picture might be removed, and we'll get it taken care of.
Oh, I don't know if it's gone quite that far, hopefully. But that
Yeah.
allows me to. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I was gonna say that, like, honestly, I think that, like, once the speaking from a trader's perspective, once the selling pressure is over, the stock can breathe. And I mean, when I first invested in SIRC, I think it was like 40 or 50, 40, 45 cents, something like that. And the stock went to like $3, like within like a couple months of that time. Then, like, unfortunately, selling pressure came in, and like a lot more selling pressure came in, and like, you know what I mean? And it brought it like pretty much all the way back down and then some. So like, I guess like anyone who's been long this stock for as long as I have, like, 12, 15 months, you've seen what this stock can do as a trader without any selling pressure on it. And I mean, once this problem is cleared up, whatever you want to call it, there won't be any selling pressure. I mean, RB Capital, I mean, I haven't converted a single share of my debt. They're not going to be in the market selling anything that we have. I mean, look, we're in this like you guys to ride this out and get like a big payday off of it. You know what I mean?
And again, I think shareholders would be glad to hear that you're still on everyone's side, like
Yeah.
the rest of the common man.
And just to clear things up, the Tony situation is as bad as it's going to get. It can't get any worse. He's tied up. He has no more shares. So when he's out of shares or we buy him out, he's done. There's nothing else he could do. People are concerned about his notes. He doesn't have any reserve for his notes. There's no way he can get any more shares for his notes. We would have to prove that to happen. It would never ever happen. So
And that actually gives me a good place to interject a question that was going to come later. But since we're talking about Tony and Granite now, I can go ahead and ask this. But there's been additional significant concern regarding the 4.5 million in additional defaulted notes with Granite, and if they were to use the same terms as the prior conversions that allowed him to get the 27 million from his previous the 27 million shares from his previous note. Shareholders are worried that SIRC could be looking at 4.5 billion shares for to Granite, and I think people just want to hear that there aren't provisions in the notes that are going to allow Tony to run away with this, and they're worried that I have another follow-up question that was essentially, what assurances do you have that Granite and Tony will agree to these buybacks or payoffs when he can simply convert his shares instead? Does he have the option of going for the shares, or once the money is in, there is zero chance that he'll be able to kind of weasel out of this and get more shares?
Yeah, I think Brett can answer that better than I can, because Brett has been on both sides, and Brett can tell you the uphill battle he would have to try to convert anything.
You're the man. I was literally just on mute saying, "Oh, I wish I could answer this question."
By all means,
Boom.
absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so like, look, toxic lender will have shares on reserve with a transfer agent. That's where the last 27 million shares came from. That means that they don't need any approval from the CEO. They don't need a board resolution. It's all already been signed, and those shares are on reserve with the TA, waiting to be delivered to them whenever the hell they want. Now, all that is gone. Now, like, so for example, now, if I wanted to convert my shares, I would have to get Dave to sign off on it, all 87 members of the board to sign off on it. I mean, everybody. And that would be to do a debt conversion, like right now. Tony's not in that exact same boat. Okay. All that debt, he doesn't have the option of converting or getting paid. Like, remember, like, if someone shows up and says, "Here, you're owed X amount of dollars, here's your money." Okay. Like, I mean, that's how it works. You're not going to find a judge anywhere in the United States of America or anywhere that's going to say, "Oh, hey, you know what? Sorry, I know you wanted to pay this off in cash, but instead we have to just like give you 4.5 billion shares and completely ruin your entire company." Especially when you've already been given tons of, you've already made money on other shares before. So like, look, I'm not concerned about any of that stuff. The second this money comes in, all this goes away, all the selling pressure goes away. And then, to be honest with you, all the market makers that basically have wind of the fact that there's a long-term big position seller in the market will essentially stop taking their short position, because it's not a short thing anymore. They don't know what's going to happen.
And that's what you often see with, the toxic selling, is it isn't just the toxic selling, it's everyone with their short positions alongside it because they know about the selling pressure.
Yeah, and that stuff leaks out. And if you think about it, I mean, remember, you can like look at a financial, okay, and you can say like, okay, look, there's a toxic note coming due on, April 9th. And all of a sudden, like, the stock starts going down. It's pretty easy to know that like the company's probably, you look at their balance sheet, they probably don't have $1.5 million of cash on hand to pay off that note. The guy's obviously going to convert, and that he's going to sell them. Remember, people don't convert their shares just to like hold on to them, for the most part. They sell them. Otherwise, they would just leave it in debt form, accruing interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, anything you'd like to add to that, or do you think that pretty well covers it?
What that's the case. I think what I've learned in this toxic debt world is the key to this whole world is leverage. And as soon as Tony's out of shares, the leverage moves to SRC's side.
Correct.
And we're going to, Brett and I both have spoke with him about what it takes to get him out. I think we have a favorable number to get him out. We're prepared to pay it. So we want to get those notes cleaned up for NASDAQ, and we'll get it taken care of. We want to take care of him and turn this thing around.
Well,
Yeah, and then wait, just to interject one more thing. Like I said,
Sure.
I spoke to him on the phone. I spent 30 minutes with him, speaking on the phone, talking to him on the phone, asking him everything. He was squirrely. He wouldn't answer a lot of questions, but at the same time, he was willing to play ball. Like, do you know what I mean? He's willing to like sell out the notes like at face value or a little bit less. He really just wants the cash back, and that's it. You know what I mean? I mean, and look, to be honest with you, he loaned the money to the company. He's entitled to the money back. Do I think he's entitled to 4.5 gazillion shares? Of course not. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, so, and he knows that, because look, he could never sell those shares. So look, he's a businessman too. He just wants his money, and I think he's going to be reasonable about this.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So let's move on to a different note. Actually, you know what? I'm not doing my job if I don't ask. What is the number that you think you can get out of the debt for, or is that not something you can talk about?
I'd rather not say.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes perfect sense, but not doing my job if I don't at least try.
But it's favorable, and it's less in face.
Sounds good. So moving on to another recent convertible note, people wanted to know, did SIRC pay the $600,000 January 19th note with 90-day maturity, which was recently due on April 19th? And if not, what are the terms of conversion, as they are not listed in the annual filing?
That's a friendly note. That's from Brad Hare from Mammoth Capital. Actually, Brad called me from Miami from Hard Rock Hotel. The day I was really shocked at the call. The day that note was due, he said, "Dave, just let you know my note's due." And I say, "Hey, the funds haven't came in from Arbiter yet. What do you want to do about it?" He said, "Let's just let it sit there, and we'll get a little interest, and then pay me when you can." And that's verbatim. That's I work with my investors mainly with relationships. That's how Brett and I are. That's how Brad and I are. That's how Tony and I thought we were, but I don't know what happened to him. Nothing to worry about. It's just he's going to sit there until he gets his money.
More good news for shareholders. So let's move on to different question. You recently had mentioned 2 pending $40 million government grants, and that was in the Discord chat last time you had popped in for a small Q&A. How long have these grants been pending, and what are the processes and timelines given by the government for approval? And finally, are there any requirements or stipulations on use of the proceeds?
I've got several questions on the grants, and I think I've expressed very clearly this grant guy, the lobbyist I work with, his name is Jack. Jack might be the biggest used car salesman I've ever talked to in my entire life. Every time I talk to him, I just want to throw up. We did recently get a response from one of the first grants that we did not get it. We have another one pending. I quite frankly don't have a lot of faith in us getting a grant. I think we still need to roll our sleeves up and just keep working hard at what we're doing. But I would not count on any grants whatsoever. If it happens, it will be.
I mean, look, it's a business. You don't need any grants. You've grown your business exponentially. I mean, look, it would be nice if you get it, but look, it's hardly the end of the world if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it would be a nice windfall, but I would not count on it.
And do you have any intentions of applying for more grants, or is that kind of like you've kind of exhausted that path if these don't go through?
We don't have any intentions of applying for any more grants. I know that Brad is working. Brad from Plimco, the EV charging side, I guess California got a $5 billion EV grant, and Brad is getting a lot of his business from that grant. So we are actively working the grant world, but it kind of not directly, but indirectly through contracts.
All right, sounds good. So let's go ahead and move on to another question, different category. Can you provide an update on the PPP loan forgiveness and plans regarding open market share buybacks? Yeah, that's the question.
PPP loan forgiveness. I'm a little bit on the email chain. I know Laura and Wanda are going back and forth. We are working on that. It's I got to think it's going to be done this month. And the share buyback is something we'd love to do. Brett and I talked about today how nice it would be if we take $10 million of the Arbiter fund and just buy shares on the open market. And that I think that would be an exciting time. We don't have the PPP done, and we don't have the Arbiter money yet. I don't have approval yet. So those three things fall into place. I think that would be something I would love to do.
So there's no.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Brett.
Sorry, just to interject. We talk about share buybacks all the time because it's the best thing to do. So it's so much more shareholder friendly than doing a reverse. It obviously just costs money. Okay, so I mean, remember that there's two rules. The company's not allowed to buy stock in the first half an hour the market opens or the last half an hour before it closes because they don't want you to paint the tape or market manipulation or any of that stuff. So essentially, I told them if we could just take $10 million and just start buying, if they could start buying it back in the open market, just slapping the ass, basically, you know what I mean, on a daily basis, 100 grand here, 200 grand here. Not only would the price go way, way, way up, but those shares that are being purchased then get returned to Treasury. So the outstanding goes down without doing a reverse, and then it's like priming yourself for the Nasdaq, so that way, let's say you get the stock to $3. Well, now you can do a 3-to-1 reverse. You're at $9. You can do a healthy raise, and you haven't hurt any of the shareholders because of it's a small reverse.
Yeah, I know that everyone is definitely very happy in other companies when they see share buybacks. So hopefully that's something that can get resolved soon with the PPP forgiveness. And I know Dave has mentioned that he's, once that's done, he's definitely committed to doing that. So
I'm all for it. Something I would have to get board approval for. I'm in a new world now. I used to be able to do things that I wanted to do, but now everything is board approval, board approval, board approval. So we'd have to get my board on board.
do you have any reason to believe they wouldn't be on board?
I don't think so, but I just want to be clear that we're preparing for the Nasdaq. We have an 8-member board currently, and so we have to get all hands on deck to get something like that done.
Absolutely. Moving to a different category again, there are several letters of intent awaiting receipt of Arbiter funds. Of those companies, which do you believe will be finalized first, and why is that particular one the most important of the pending LOIs?
That's a great question. We have a very unique challenge here at SRC. Is our sales exceed our capability of installs. So we have Echo Management, BVI installers, and Standard Eco are small sales teams and install teams nationwide. So they're highest on the list to get on board to help take our pipeline down and get that revenue in the bank and not on the books. So we need to balance out our. That's what we do with acquisitions now. We either find talent or we balance out our ecosystem here at SRC. But we have to get some more in-house installers so we can capture all the revenue from all the sales that we have.
So the installation teams then would be absolutely the priority for closing first.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question, also on acquisitions, but these are a little bit pertaining to past acquisitions. Audited statements show that SIRC is paying a significant $94 million premium in fiscal year 21 mergers activity, while fiscal year 21 goodwill impairment is small at about $436,000 or 0.4%. And the question is, are all acquisitions still panning out well, or should we expect further impairment of goodwill, and if so, to what extent?
Hey, Brett, you got that?
That's all right. Look, to be
No, I'm
honest,
just kidding. I got it.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just kidding. Quite frankly, all the acquisitions. I don't know if you guys know much about the collapse, but we're going through a company-wide collapse where we have 14 acquisitions. We're trying to collapse everything into divisions, from solar division to a roofing division to an east-west division to an EV division, and we're changing CEOs from their subsidiaries to be we have now directors of divisions. So all that collapse is taking place. Pablo is leading the charge on that, and we're cutting costs and we're becoming more efficient. And as I mentioned, everything is hitting on all cylinders. So everything's working out, and even Cornerstone. I mean, Cornerstone, we completely turned that company around, and it's going to be a valuable asset for it. It's doing a great job. Taking a lot of work, but we're as I mentioned, we did 100 roofs in Arkansas. Probably do 100. So the solar is really picking up, which was key. It was almost zero when we bought it, and now it's doing almost $1 million a month. So again, our team works hard and we make things happen without fail. We turn chicken poop into chicken soup.
All right. Sounds like nobody should be expecting any more goodwill impairment. Sounds like everything's going very well. Glad to hear it.
I only paused because those numbers and those percentages kind of confused me, but
yeah,
the bottom line is it's going well.
Perfect.
As you can tell from just all the success we're having throughout the different revenue streams.
Awesome. So let's go over to the EV charging. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier. These are a little bit more generalized questions. What advantage does SIRC's EV charging division have over competitors such as Blink Charging, ChargePoint, and EVgo? And have there been any discussions with any, actually these are two separate questions. I don't know how these got mashed together. But yeah, what is the advantage that SIRC's EV charging division has over competitors?
That's a great question. I literally reached out to Brad Reinhardt, who runs our EV division, to get his answer, and came back with a great answer. We are a sole source solution provider in EV charging. Unlike the other competitors, we do design, we do the drawings, we do the specifications, we do the permitting, we do the construction, we do the installs, and we commission them. And with our U.S. Solar Network, we have an entire financing division, so we can literally go up to a shopping center, look at their parking lot, knock on their door, and say, "Hey, you have all that beautiful concrete space out there that's not making any money. For zero money out of your pocket, we can finance your EV charging and solar and put this on your roof and create a revenue stream for you." And we've literally done that. So what I thought was pretty impressive was our Christmas party was at my club at Morgan Run, and it's an older club, needs a roof, needs solar, and needs EV charging. Brad was at the party, and Brad met with one of the directors, and he had a conversation about what we do, and he literally got the conversation started about us providing solar and EV charging at my club, which I'm a member of, and Brad did that on his own. I was really impressed. So that's I guess the short answer is we have all the pieces in place to make it very easy for our customers to get EV charging.
Sounds good. So you would say maybe it's accurate to say that whereas other competitors may have to go outside of their company or network for certain parts of the process, essentially SIRC has everything under the SIRC banner to do installation and everything from start to finish. Would that be accurate?
Yes, I don't know the competitors in the EV charging world, but I don't think those guys actually do the installs.
Okay, perfect.
And we're actually making money, which I don't know if those guys are.
Yeah, I know you guys have actually more revenue than Blink Charging, and Blink Charging has a $1 billion market cap, just shy of it. So, uh, you know, there's quite an advantage that you guys are already having in terms of revenue, even in the OTC over NASDAQ listed companies. So I think you guys have a very bright future. Let's move on to
As I said earlier, we have a very bright future as long as the sun keeps shining. You can use
absolutely.
that anytime you like.
Yeah, Winslow and one of the shareholders just informed me ChargePoint isn't even profitable yet, and SIRC is. So there you go. I'd buy that T-shirt, honestly.
I might make some up if I can sell them for on the weekend at swap meet. I'll do it.
There you go. There you go, guys. You all want a T-shirt? So any discussions with any car manufacturers or big retail brands to be their preferred EV charging installer? Did you get that one, Dave?
I did.
Okay. If you can't share it, you can't share it. But if you can,
No, what I'm doing is I spoke with Brad earlier when I saw the question, and his answer was no, but he had something else that we were doing that was pretty exciting, and I got notes, and I'm trying to find that note. But to answer the question, we don't have that in place, but he has but he is sending out I guess to do a level 2. I hope I get this right. EV chargers or level 3 EV chargers like 200 grand. He's put a flyer out to the different, and it's not really cost effective for the dealers. He has been soliciting them, saying we can do 8 level 2 or the one different type of EV charger for about the same cost, and he feels like that's going to be a big winner for the for that market. So the point is he's aware of the marketplace, and he's doing some good marketing to try to tap into it.
so he's working with larger car dealerships then. is what it sounds like. Is that accurate?
He's marketing to them, showing, sharing our services with them and showing them our competitive way that they can get EV charging from us. Yes.
Perfect. All right, next question, on to Plemco. Plemco had listed about 10 to 15 EV charging sales jobs in various locations throughout the country, and those jobs are no longer listed. Were the vacancies all filled, or has there been a change in their hiring plans?
With the collapse that we're going through we're kind of calling it the Solar Rev collapse. We're getting ready for the name change and kind of the new branding. We pause that currently as we make this transition.
So the hiring will be under, presumably when it takes place, the new, more streamlined departments and divisions.
Correct.
All right. Next question. You previously mentioned that you would like to transition to an executive chairman of the board position with SIRC. Have you started the interviewing process for a new CEO? And are you looking for an outsider with more structural business background, or do you intend to promote from within?
That's a very good question. It's very near and dear to my heart. I don't know if you guys know about my health concerns I've had. I recently just had surgery last week. I had a hiatal hernia and a twisted stomach and shifted organs. So I just got out of surgery last week. I'm recovering nicely from it. I feel like my health is on the mend. I'm feeling much, much better. Last 4 months, my health hasn't been very good. So I mentioned that I would possibly consider moving the chairman of the board and bringing a CEO, since I feel like I'm on the mend and I feel like I can still provide value to SRC. I anticipate staying in the CEO position until I can't add the value that I feel like that we need. As we grow into probably $1 billion company, which I don't think is too far away, I'm sure we'll bring in a well-qualified CEO that can manage something like that can do a better job than me. But I have a vision to clean up some of my messes and get us to NASDAQ. And then possibly at that time we'll look at someone. But we have a lot of talent here at SRC. We would possibly look internally, and we would make sure that we pick the right person, either outside or from the inside.
So the goal then is just to get the right person, whether it's outside or inside.
We wouldn't bring value as much as it would hurt my feelings if I announced a new CEO and the stock price doubled. I would be. I tell everyone SRC first. I tell my team I love you all the same, but I love SRC more, and that's how I feel about myself. That's where it would be. I'd want to hire a CEO that we got such a big jump in confidence that it would hurt my feelings, but it would be okay.
It sounds like that, even when the day comes where you move on to a different position, it sounds like your goal is to leave, the company and shareholders in the best possible hands. And I'm sure shareholders very much appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I certainly hope you're feeling better after your surgery, hopefully.
I'm feeling great. My stomach's a little swollen. It's been swollen for about the last 20 years, but I hope it goes down soon.
I certainly hope so. Quick question. This one, sorry, go ahead.
That was a joke. Yeah, it was a joke. You didn't laugh. Oh, come on. I got.
I guess I guess I'll go see myself out then. Shame on me for that one.
It's okay.
I promise next time you tell a joke, I'll be sure to get that one, and I'll be sure to laugh at it.
Once I have to explain them, I realize that they weren't that funny.
All right. So next up,
those who know me and see my stomach know exactly what I'm talking about. That's why Brett laughed, because Brett's seen me in person.
Fair enough. I know some people are laughing in the Discord chat, so some people thought it was funny. This one I'm not sure if you can answer. This may be more of a Wanda question, but we'll give it a shot. Will any of the SIRC executives be buying any stock for their personal portfolios under Form 4? And do the new acquisitions that you will be acquiring with the Arbiter Fund still intend to acquire shares of SIRC on the open market as part of the terms that you previously stated?
That was a twofold question. The answer to the first part, I have not heard any discussion about any of the insiders buying stock based on that form that you discussed, and we haven't had a discussion with the acquisitions recently about our goal. When the Arbiter money comes and they get their money, I'm sure they will take some of that money and buy some on the open market. I think that will go unsaid.
But there's no intention then, as it stands now, to write any sort of deal like that into the terms of the contract itself.
We legally could not do that. It would have to be more of a handshake type deal or more of an understanding. We cannot make them buy our stock.
Understood. Next question. Has the board of directors started the process of forming an independent audit committee and executive compensation committee?
It's been discussed at the recent board meeting, and it's in the works. We are getting, as we pick the bank and we go down the path to Nasdaq, all these things have to be done, and we will get them done at the during the 4 months. But we're very much aware it needs to be done.
Awesome. So questions about the SolarEv process. First thing is, was there any opposition filed against the SolarEv trademark, and is the name and ticker change proceeding positively?
Positively means that the days are flying by. The timeline must be getting smaller. We're just waiting on FINRA. The last word from FINRA was they saw the single point lawsuit with Pablo, and they just want to get some more clarity on that. Was the last communication that I heard, and I'm sure that's being done. But it's just a matter of dotting I's and crossing T's. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything in the way or anything going to stop it. It's just a matter of just all these processes with these government agencies, just time.
And how long ago was that communication that Pablo had, would you say, with FINRA?
Well, Pablo didn't have it. It was with our attorney, and it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe Jeff mentioned that to me a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks, okay. All right, fair enough. So now that the investor presentation and a lot of the other marketing materials have started to show the SolarEv brand, have you received any feedback from anyone regarding the new name?
Again, we did a trademark search, and that came back favorably. I believe there's a little small company in private company in Boston or in the Northeast that has it. We're proceeding with it. There's no, again, I think it's kind of the same as last question. There's no reason why it won't happen. So we just need FINRA to approve it, and I gotta think it's pretty quick.
I think this one is more along the lines of like any sort of official, major business partners or deals. Do people like the new name? Do people like the new branding and the new, kind of push to market as SolarEv rather than Solar Integrated Roofing Corporation?
Well, I would have to think that the public markets would have more value into a solar EV company than a solar roofing company. So that's kind of branding, and that's kind of the face that we're trying to put on, is that transition that we're really focused on solar and EV in our finance division. That's that's where the real value comes for us as the marketplace becomes aware of our core business. That's truly becoming our core business, and you'll see that over 2022 as our financials come out, that
And
the bulk of our revenue will be from the finance division, the EV division, and the solar division. Our roofing division is maybe 15, 18 million bucks.
That's incredible growth. I have a question that I think shareholders might be interested in is what percentage of the revenue for the fiscal year of 2022 do you believe the EV charging will represent in terms of the overall company revenue?
This is merely speculation and a guess. It's a calculated guess, but it's merely speculation, I guess. I would say probably 35 to 40%.
35 to 40% of the company's revenue in 2022 will be EV.
That's speculation, I guess, based on our backlog and our forward-looking contracts and things we're working on. I think that's a pretty fair guess.
Wow.
And we have a pretty big acquisition teed up too that has a $100 million backlog. So if we acquire them, that number can change. I mean, anytime you guys pin me down on revenues and forward-looking statements, it's always a moving target because we're an acquisition company, and we could make an acquisition that changes the entire face of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the question was, just more to get a sense of how big the EV division is projected to become as a percentage of the company, because we know how how hot the EV sector has been right now in the public markets.
I mean, if you just remember the list of projects that we're working on, these are all big projects. I gave you some revenue amounts on the ones that are finished and ones that are under construction, but he has 12 or 15 pretty good sized projects here. I don't know the total revenue, but he's done an excellent job. Brad's been a great asset to the team.
Amazing. Sounds like it. Absolutely. While we're on the solar EV subject, any updates on choosing a new ticker to go along with the new name? Have you settled on one?
I get a lot of input from shareholders. They reach out to me at all hours of the day and night. They don't think I sleep, but they don't think I have a personal life, which technically I don't. And one of the guys came up with Soar, SOAR, which I thought was great. I think it's available. When we say them online, someone grabs them, so we should probably be careful.
And for my own edification, and I know a couple other people have kind of debated this, is it Solar EV or Solar Rev?
It's we call it both. It technically is you can call it either or. I think Solar Rev is kind of I think it's kind of it looks like Solar EV, but Solar Rev is kind of Solar EV and revenue all together is the way I look at it. I think Solar Rev is kind of cool.
Well, there you go, guys. It's both. I tried to nail that down for you, but there you go.
I try to get pinned down all the time on my name, Dave. They say, Dave, do you like Dave or David? Like, it's all the same. It's all the same to me.
Fair enough. So, worst case scenario, when would you expect to roll out the new branding and messaging, kind of incorporating the SolarRev? You're still waiting for FINRA's official name change before you officially roll out the messaging and everything, or do you tend to do it before then?
No, we're internally using SolarRev for the collapse and the divisional type separation, but as far as publicly and websites and going to market, we still have to use our legal name.
Fair enough. Yeah, we're already kind of on the home stretch here, getting to the last several questions.
I have dinner reservations at 6:15. I don't think I'll make it.
Oh no. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean,
this was a
you're in the
long
home
one.
stretch. How many?
Home stretch is 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Not too bad.
Okay. Can they be yes or no?
How did you set Brett up? Is he getting paid by the hour? How's Brett getting paid? If he's getting paid by the hour,
I don't get paid at all. That's the problem. I don't get paid till the stock goes to $3.
All right, so
that's actually a nice payday.
Yeah, definitely would be a nice payday at $3.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a roadmap defined or goals set with the international monetary relationship, and can you speak to those milestones and any progress made?
Blaine is he's more of a market awareness guy, and he thinks he can do a really good job as we start coming out with news to really get our volume up and our stock price up. And he was a referral from my attorney Alex, and supposedly he does an excellent job. Those guys are a little bit like toxic investors. There's good ones and bad ones, but we hope as we start rolling out the news that he will kick in and we'll see the volume the share volume go up and the stock price go up. That's his mission.
So it's accurate to say that the international monetary relationship and essentially what they're doing is going to be to magnify the news and the PR campaigns when you start to put them out. Is that correct?
Yes, he has a pretty large network of people he works with that he will take our press releases and our articles and create a spider web of get more awareness with more public awareness, so we get more attention to what we're doing.
Awesome. So this is the only question that we're going to have on this kind of along the lines of the lawsuit related questions, but can you simply confirm if the restricted label has been removed from any of the 45 million shares given to Hunter?
I can confirm that our attorney Alex has filed for TRO, which is temporary restraining order, for him not to remove the legend, and the judge's ruling was, I will not issue that now, but if he makes any attempt to remove the legend, then we will enforce a TRO. So he is not, I don't know if he's capable, I don't know if he doesn't know how, but if he attempts to remove it's tied up at the TA, and it's tied up with the court. So
yeah, at this time the restricted legend is not removed.
It's not removed, and if he tries to remove it, a restraining order will be put in place.
Perfect.
According to the judge.
What is the timeline for delivery on the share swap dividend with Helix EMOR?
They asked about it. We've just, there's another question about this, about the Noble list. We found a really cool software. I think it's called SREX, where it gives us all of our shareholders, their holdings, when they buy, when they sell, when they're starting to unload stock, that we can actually communicate with them, send them messages. Hey, sit tight. We got good things going on if you start to sell. We're getting ready to engage with them. As soon as we get that in place, the key is we have to get a hold of our shareholder list. As soon as we get that done, we'll start to swap with Alexia.
So from what I'm understanding, then the idea is to kind of be able to communicate with the Helix shareholders about things that are going on in SIRC to kind of convert them to long-term SIRC shareholders. That's the plan.
Well, I may not explain that very well. The key is we're going to engage in the software company so we can communicate and know our shareholders and know who they are and what they're holding and what they're looking at, and that will give us our shareholder list or Noble list of exactly who they are. We feel like we have 3,000 to 10,000 shareholders. We don't know exactly, and when we get that in place, we'll know, and then we can reach out to them and do the swap. We have to, and I think the question is, what's the timeline? And I would say less than 2 weeks.
Oh, that quickly. Oh, I'm sure some people will be happy to hear that.
And I think the shareholder swap is very favorable for our shareholders. I think Alexa has a couple hundred, and I think we have a lot more. So you guys will, I don't think we'll be pushed out a lot of shares for the swap.
And that answers one of the other questions that we had later on down the list, which is basically how many shareholders does SIRC have, and do you have a Nobo list? So you're working on it.
Yes.
Awesome. Getting close to the end here. I think you touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of the timeline, but does SIRC plan to become an SEC filer to add an extra layer of credibility to the company?
Yes, that's the Form 10 piece, and we touched on that first part of the interview.
Yeah, we touched on that, yeah. So let me just take this off real quick. Here's an interesting question. So let me get by this one quickly because this is a more of a quick question. With regards to the partnership with Enphase Energy, they qualify their partners into 3 tiers, platinum, gold, and silver. Do you know which one SIRC falls under at this time?
I tried to get prepared for that question. I reached out to my local rep, Jeff Gill, and I'm looking at his text. He I don't know. I know that we're by far one of their biggest dealers. I don't know if we have any medals or jewels next to our name, but we're one of their biggest dealers.
Fair enough. So this is a little bit.
And I do know that we have some of the best pricing in the industry from them, which is much more important than being a platinum or gold. Pricing and bottom line is more important to us than accolades by far.
I agree, absolutely. Has SIRC been approached by any company interested in a buyout, and if so, any interesting offers you can discuss?
None. Zero.
That's a simple answer, straight into the point.
It 6 months ago, 9 months ago, people were sniffing around, but we're nowhere even close to being thought about buying out. We have a great team and a great plan and a great future, and we're gonna, I think for us to really get our value to get bought out, we're 2.5 years away from something like that to really get the shareholder value that people would really want.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would be happy to hear that. Next question, real simple. Would it be possible to have a real shareholders meeting at SIRC's headquarters?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be at our headquarters. We use my club, Morgan Run, as a meeting ground because most everything all of our offices are in East County. Morgan Run is right in the center of the county. They have a hotel. They have meeting rooms that you guys could fly in and want to have stay. Rooms are like $120 a night. It's a really nice facility. They have golf. They're right in the heart of the best part of San Diego. We could definitely do something. We could do a real shareholder meeting. I think this early summer might be a good time to do that. Let's get some of the mess cleaned up, so my shareholders are happier with me. So when I see them, I don't have to duck, and we can put that together.
Perfect. All right, final question. Brett, you still with us? This one's for you. I think we lost Brett again. I think he fell asleep.
No,
There he is.
I'm right here. Final question. I'm like, oh, I got so excited. I was.
Yeah, this one's for you specifically. So you seem to be pretty bullish on SIRC. Can you see a path forward where you can continue to help the company further after the receipt of Arbiter funds?
Yeah. I mean, if you mean more money, I mean, yes, I would be open to investing more money if that's the case. But if you like strategically, yes, like Dave mentioned before, I have relationships with all these investment banks, like all the people that you need to get to the Nasdaq. I mean, my long-term relationships with them will make it so that all right. I guess I'll put it this way: like most investment banks, like when the company just comes to them directly or whatever, they don't care so much about the shareholders. And I know I shouldn't be saying this, but they don't usually care about the shareholders. They just want to get the S1 done and the IPO done and list on the Nasdaq and get the money for the company. But when I bring a company to these investment banks, I'm like, hey, look, you guys no, I am a long-term large shareholder. I don't want to get screwed right now. So I mean, essentially it's way more shareholder friendly than the average mediocre crappy uplist. So I think that's the value add. It's not just for the company. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm looking out for the shareholders myself. It's not like I'm looking out for all of the other shareholders, but I mean, me looking out for myself in the situation is me looking out for the other shareholders. Whereas most like I said, investment banks and lenders are really just out for themselves or the new investors. Everybody forgets real quick the people that it took to get you to where you are. And Dave's not one of those guys that forgets, and neither am I. So I was there from the beginning. A lot of you guys were there from the beginning. And it's just that it's not right to just listen to some investment bank when they tell you it's all going to be great. This way, I can step in there. I don't want to say quarterback the thing because that's not what's going to happen. But I can use my relationships to make sure that we don't get fucked. I mean, let's be honest. Sorry to be vulgar, but that's bottom line.
We went this entire Q&A without an F-bomb. Look at that.
That's
It was the final question. Come on, I'm so excited. I did a backflip.
1 hour and 38 minutes in. You got it.
Good.
And I don't know if we're done, but something I really want to stress is, and if you guys take anything away from this Q&A, is having a successful uplist is the most important piece I want you guys to take away from this. Is SRC is determined to have a successful uplist, and what I mean by that, reverse split and all that stuff everyone worries about is we come out at a price and then we go up from there. That's a successful uplist to me. The rest of it is all noise.
And it looks like, SIRC certainly has all the pieces in place to, to do the uplist successfully and to the benefit of all the shareholders involved. Absolutely.
Again, when we get the pressure off the stock and we get the numbers out, and I mean, there's just so much upside when we get into the real financial world with our financials, that a successful uplist is inevitable, in my opinion, if I can spit that out.
Inevitable, strong word. I would absolutely, sorry, go ahead, Brett.
It also puts in a totally different category. Like, the problem now is, no matter how great of a company you are, like, you're still on the OTC markets, and like, you're still like not a listed company. And unfortunately, those large lenders, those large like Wall Street like quotations, as people call them, don't even know about this. They don't even care. Like, so like a trading floor, like a Goldman Sachs or whatever, they're not even allowed to recommend SIRC to their customers. It's the law. But like, that all changes when you get listed. Now all of a sudden, like, nobody wants to miss like the next hot new solar company. And then, I'm not saying it's the next Tesla, but like, who cares? If it's 1/100th of Tesla, I'll take it. We'll all be rich.
Yeah, and again, you got a solar company and an EV company that's already doing more revenue than Blink, already profitable when ChargePoint isn't. So, there you go. Dave, I know that you wanted to make a statement briefly about the employee stock compensation. Do you want to go ahead and do that now?
You said, David, I know you want to make a statement about the employee stock compensation.
The stock compensation for the upcoming.
Okay, yeah. That was you threw me a little curveball there. I didn't see it in the list.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
I think you guys, we mentioned earlier that Jason's team has been kicking butt, and they've earned some shares of stock. We've held off issuing those shares. They were due actually the end of the year. We had to increase our authorized shares from 500 million to 560 million to take care of Jason and his team and some of the employees and some of the new board members. And so everyone's satisfied and everyone's taken care of. It's a very small authorized bit. We're still planning on buying shares and retiring shares. We just couldn't wait any longer. So it was
it's also restricted stock, remember, too.
Yeah,
so like,
it is restricted.
Yeah, it's not part of the float. It's not hitting the market. And remember, some of the easy, like later on down the road, like what I've in my experience, some of the easiest shares to buy back are from the insiders and the people that that earn them through this, because like they want to help the company, and they got the shares as compensation, as a bonus anyway. So, but like they're even willing to sell them at like a block price or at a slight discount sometimes, which doesn't hurt the market at all.
Right, absolutely.
This had to be done. Just the guys Jason was getting a lot of heat. I pushed him off, and we had to do it. We kept thinking the Arbiter money would come in time, and we could buy back shares and use the shares we bought back. But we have employees that we have to take care of. So I know you guys will see it, and you guys will let me know when you see it, and you'll text me and say, Dave, did you see the authorized share count go up 60 million? And I would have to say, yes, I know it did.
So there you go. Just be prepared for it. And like Brett said, it's all going to be restricted. So no need to worry about it going out on the market or, causing any additional selling pressure.
Yeah, we got to take care of the team. This is a team effort. This isn't a Dave effort. This is a team effort.
Absolutely. All right, Dave, Brett, anything else you would like to add? Because if not, I believe we are done.
No, I'm all good.
Dave, how about you?
I just got a text from one of the shareholders explaining ASOS and float. Lots of questions. authorized, give you an idea, our authorized share count was 500 million. And us as a board, we can have a board meeting and we can raise that. We could raise it to 600 million. We could raise it to 750 million. We could raise it to $1 billion. We chose to raise it 60 million shares where we're actually only deploying about 30 million. So we got 30 million kind of in the bank to just get us to NASDAQ. And that's the authorized share count that he's talking about. As far as the outstanding shares or the shares, that's currently the outstanding shares is the 560 million shares that are outstanding, and the shares in the float that are being publicly traded. I don't really know what that number is. I think it's like 460 million currently. So if someone had those questions, I'd just clear that up for you.
So of the increase in the authorized shares of 60 million, not all of those 60 million are going to be immediately handed out to Jason's team, correct?
Correct. About 30 million of them are, and that we have 30 million sitting around to just we have a lot of services that will take shares instead of money. 60,000 shares here, 100,000 shares here, just kind of gives us a little bank, and so we can. Our goal is not to change the authorized shares until NASDAQ.
All right.
It's also important to understand that like when shares are awarded to someone for like performance-based compensation, it's because you're getting those shares because you did something really good for the company. So remember, like whatever they did for the company to earn those shares also hits the bottom line of the financials, also affects everything. It's like a chain reaction, so it's not the same thing as like a debt conversion, with some like some low conversion price where you're getting tons of shares for nothing. It's actually like someone who earned those shares through like helping the company's revenue or sales or whatever. I mean, and that's the real difference. And then it's also someone who doesn't want to sell them and harm anybody.
And to follow up on Brett's point, this is all part of the team that went out last week and sold $2.5 million in solar projects in 1 week at door-to-door sales, which
1 week.
And that's incredible.
That's he did, and Jason's doing a great. He's adding to his team. He thinks he's kind of get the tip of the iceberg going. He thinks that's just the beginning. So again, all things we're clicking on all cylinders. Everything's going great.
All right. Dave, always a pleasure. Brett, thank you so much for being special guest on the Q&A.
I'm on.
Elijah, you did a great job. Would you do me a favor, Elijah? Maybe get Brett one of those T-shirts for his compensation.
Absolutely. 100%.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It was
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Brett. Thanks, Dave. Take care and have a great evening.